We are very delighted to be able to hear your voice and to connect to your vibration in this way. For it is as we come and attune to the vibration of this one to support in bringing you as much love as we can. You hear our toning, and this particular toning is a signature of the octave in which we are carrying. And as we attune to your particular octaves, we can support it in bringing it to the highest frequency in which you're able to receive at this time. And so much gratitude for your willingness to say hello. And so it is that I am here as Archangel Raphael today to talk to you about whatever it is you're wanting to talk about. And it is, of course, as often, I am not alone, for there are teams of beings that are coming in right now and beginning to arrive. And as we are assembling the energies that are here today to speak to you and to love and to adore who it is that you are, perhaps there is something in which you're wanting to ask.
So, hi, Raphael. Today, we're really wanting to focus on bringing compassion to ourselves and these wounds and these things that are going on in the world when it seems really difficult to bring that compassion, and maybe some tools and insight on why it's important and how we can do it. Oh, Raphael, you have gotten muted somehow.
We like opening the eyes. That is fun. We have told Kelly that she could open her eyes and she could stand up and we could talk in this way. And yet she has a limiting belief around that. And so perhaps this little process is good, for it supports us in reminding her that this is all possible. For it is that before we begin to talk about all that, we want to remind those of you who have been with us on our starseed journey and those who are ready to embark upon it, how important it is to gather, especially during this pivotal time, the energies of a minimum of 144,000 beings in order to calibrate that particular frequency and to bring more light to the earth. And we want to clarify that when we speak of this, and you may feel called or attuned or wanting to connect with that energy, that when we talk about 144,000 star seeds coming together in order to create this grid, that pod is simply that, a pod of 144,000. And there are pods all around, and energies and connections and communities all around the planet of this same magnitude, the same number, that are working together harmoniously and in unity to bring light and to embody and to anchor more love on the planet. But as I utilize this vessel and take time from her to be here, to attune to all of you, it is important to begin to expand the energy so that you weekly before each call may attune to one another, begin to unify with each other, begin to feel and to know one another, to begin to build this grid. Because it is that this grid around the globe is imperative to moving through these pivotal times of change with the greatest amount of ease and grace. And sometimes in the witnessing of all that is unfolding and all that is occurring, there is a wondering, when will this change happen? Will it be in my lifetime? Am I ever going to witness this? And how will things ever change? It feels so hopeless. Nothing ever gets done. And we want you to know that it is that as you are willing to shift your energy, shift your thoughts, shift your attention toward this light grid, to embodying as much love as possible, to making love your number one priority, to bonding with the I am that I am, that you are not only an enormous part of the solution, but you are literally and figuratively anchoring in an entire new matrix across the globe that is one that will permeate the entire system and spread like lightning all around, opening up to new frequencies as the old begin to dismantle and die. But if you're only focused on the structure and form that is dismantling itself, the structure and form that is no longer grasping to what has and trying to change and to fix things from the paradigm and the perspective in which they were born from, you will remain enslaved in a matrix that does not have movement and understanding and opening, compassion and forgiveness and whatever is needed in order to move to the next octave. So we are here to give you a little pep talk to remind you that you are actually where it is that you have to be, and that you are moving through what sometimes feels like heavy, sluggish energy that is so dense that you cannot find your way, that you are in a fog and you cannot get through it. But it is that you have to embrace it. You have to be with it. You have to honor it in order to be able to move through it. And because of the fact that this is not and does not come naturally to you, it requires energy and effort. It requires, in some respects, what you might label even as work. But as you have a conscious intent to make it a priority, to face it, to feel it, to know it, to do it, you continue to clear layers and layers and layers of old energy based in separation and duality that are not only of this lifetime, that are not only yours from your personal traumas from the moment you were born to where it is that you are now, but from all the lifetimes that you have ever had from the very moment that you came into form and consciousness as a spark of individualization, as a consciousness itself, and that of the collective. Sometimes you feel a heaviness and a weight or a grief, and you don't even know what is this? Where is this coming from? It's coming out of the blue. And in that, often unconsciously, you're not recognized that you have agreed to transmute it for the collective, that you have agreed to move through it, and it is not always yours. But of course, it is yours in the larger perspective that everything and every single person and everything that occurs, as hard as it is to fathom, is an aspect, is a piece of who it is that you are. And when something happens outside of self or within self that triggers these heavy emotions, remember that the emotions cannot and will not be triggered unless they are there to propel you forward into change, or to recognize where the residence is that lives within you to be healed. And so within that today, what we want to do is to meet you on the bridge. We want to meet you halfway, because we cannot do this for you from the perspective of where it is that we are. And there are legions and legions and legions and legions of beings of light that are here and that are hovering and that are present and that are dwelling and are with you and within you right now, that are encouraging this lifting and this reacquainting oneself with higher dimensions and the remembering of who you are. But it cannot, due to the free will and the agreements that you contracted on prior to coming to Earth, intervene fully and completely on your behalf, unless it is in such a dire situation as complete and absolute destruction of the planet, in which we will not allow and will not occur. So you can take that off your plate of worry. But beyond that, the process of free will and the dramas and experiences and shifting of the agreements you have all made to work in together, to move through, to clear, and to heal must occur and take place in the development of the direction in which you choose. However, in asking for our assistance and attuning to the presence of the highest part of who it is that you are, the I am that I am presence, it is that within that framework and perspective of being and seeing, behaving, and doing, that you can move through this denser energy and feel a great sense of lightness, feel a deep sense of perspective and understanding in the perfection and the beauty of all that is. And inside and with that, it is that you may meld together along a grid across the globe from all the places in which you all live and dwell today as we share our love with you from places far and wide, unifying your frequency with the same intent to make love your number one priority, to face that in which arises with compassion, and to know that with that, you are literally lighting up a grid, a new structure around the earth in which will be the basis of your reality. Often you speak of this matrix or this way of being, and how it has enslaved or it has held you in a certain framework of being, of form, and of matter. And as that density is shifting and changing and widening, and the energies and the waves are expanding, the ability to move and to change it becomes easier by the day. But as that is happening and you're releasing of it, at the same time, it is important to not just be in no man's land from the old paradigm of where you are on a bridge that goes nowhere. You must recognize the destination in which you are headed to, where it is that you are going to be, and the focus and the intent on the journey getting there, and the embracing everything that appears along the pathway of that journey, knowing that it is preparing you and it is clearing you and it is showing you opportunity, so that when you arrive over the bridge and you land in what many perceive to be the fifth dimension or higher energetic framework or structure of the earth itself, that you are light enough to be able to merge with that new vibration, with the capacity to merge as one together. But if you are still carrying this heavy, heavy baggage that you are unwilling to look at, or unwilling to face, or unwilling to surrender, or unwilling to drop, or unwilling to let go of, then when you begin to cross the line between the halfway point of the third and the fifth dimension, the calibration of the bridge itself and the structure and the technology in which it is formed from, which is not based in this heaviness, will not be able to carry you if your density is still matching the old frequency, because of the tendency of its fragileness in a way, its lightness and its octave. You will have to become one with it, and it is in the oneness of it that it will propel you as you begin to land and find yourself in this new dimension. And so with that, your work now is to face, to feel, to embrace, to embody every and anything that is arising with courage, with a willingness to see it and to become one with it. You see, it is that you have to be one with it in order to command it to be other than what it is. Otherwise, you are simply moving it from a state of control, which is based in the old mechanism of form and structure, in the 3-day behavior and way of being, that when something arises, you want to get rid of it, you want to change it, you want to fix it, you want it to go away. And that is natural, because that is the way in which you have up to this now moment perceived your reality to be, thinking that you had control to change it so that it is other than what it is. And that has worked to some degree, but it now is not operative. It is not something that is ideal in your opportunity to move to the next octave. And so you have to literally merge vibrationally with whatever it is that you're struggling with, and become one with it. Somewhat like if you want to get a horse to move, and you're hitting it and kicking it and telling it what to do and whipping it and commanding it. It might move for you, but it will move with resistance, and perhaps it will throw you off. But if you become one with it, and you merge energetically as one energy, synchronistically in harmony together, and then you command it, you're not just commanding it as something separate from it, but you're commanding it from a place in which you are commanding self, because you are one with it. And then unilaterally and in a unified way, you flow and you move together. And so thinking of a sense in that in which you look at as your struggle, if you can become one with the struggle, meaning a willingness to merge with it, which would require accepting and loving it, it is from that place then in which you might say, well, if I completely and accept that in which I am struggling with, how will it change? How will I navigate it? How will I fix it? How will I make it better? How will it go in a different direction? But it is that when you are one with it, then you become the commander of it, because it is no longer separate from you. You are no longer pushing against it, but moving with it. And it is that through that process, then with a conscious intent, you can make a decision as to the direction and where you are wanting to go, with an absolute complete knowing and belief that it is so, without a questioning in the back, or wondering, well, what about if it doesn't work out? Or I'm going to try this, and if this doesn't work, I'm going to try that. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to try this. That is saying that you really are not knowing and trusting and listening to the internal compass and knowing of where it is that you are placing your intent and command for it to arrive. So we want to help you with that today. In a sense, we live and dwell in dimensions way beyond that of the fifth, but you are right now in the process of embodying and anchoring in fifth dimensional energy on earth. And this is a historic moment. And how long it will take in linear time for you to fully anchor it in, fully embody it as a human species, completely and absolutely depends on how quickly you can merge and become one with all energy that already exists, looking at it not as separate as self, but as that in which is a part of you that you can bring love and compassion to. Then it no longer has to keep coming up into your reality over and over and over, meaning repetitive patterns in which you thought you got rid of, that keep showing up in order for you to clear through. It's like a pop-up doll that you push down, and before you turn around, it pops up again, whether that be addiction, whether that be relationships that don't work, whether that be not having enough money, whether that be arguing with a child or a spouse, whether that be an illness, whatever it is your current theme that keeps coming up and up and up and up and up, and then you try to fix it and push it down, it goes down, you move forward, it pops up again. until you're able to fully merge with it, become one with it, love it, accept it, recognize the gift in it, own it, and merge with it, can you command it in a place of knowingness within your being that it is no longer necessary for it to pop up, and you then have really, really moved through it. That does not mean that something else, another theme might keep showing up, because you are in this tunnel right now. Energetically, you are squeezing all of the trauma, all of the ego, all of the shame, all of the guilt, all of the fear, all of the separation through this tight wedge energetically in humanity in order to heal. And so things are going to seem more volatile, more overwhelming, more outrageous, because it's all surfacing, it's all rising to be looked at, not to be pushed under the rug. And in that, you must remember that there is the law of polarity. Often we talk about the different laws, the law of vibration, the law of the mind, the law of rhythm, the law of as above, so below, correspondence, all of these different energies. But we want you to know that the law of polarity is something to master, because often you think of the law of polarity as, oh, everything is polarized and that's bad, and we want to move into unity. But you see, polarization is the gateway to unification, because it is that through polarization is an opportunity to grow. But when polarization arises and you do not utilize it to grow or to take action or to make change or to emerge with it, then it keeps arising and arising and arising and arising. It's sort of like you've been watching across this particular country here, all these shootings happening, and they seem to be becoming bigger and faster and worse by the day, because they will continue to keep rising until the polarity, the momentum of it pushes into a unified energy of a willingness to make change, so that those who contracted to lose their life under such a grieved circumstances do not continue to need to make these contracts. So it is, then you say, well, then how do we love that? How do we love the slaughtering of children? Well, it's not that you are loving what happened. You're not loving the thing that may be the struggle that you're dealing with personally or collectively, but you must become one with it. You must merge with it. You must face it. You must attune to it. You must feel it. You must be with it. You must connect to it. And in that, it is that then the opening, the propelling of the energy that moves you forward in order to be able to command it with your intent in the direction you're wanting occurs. So perhaps we can do that today for each of you on a personal level, because it is that when you obviously clear and heal that in which resides within you personally, you are healing it, of course, for anyone else on the planet that is resonating with that. So when you're resonating with lack, and I don't have enough money, and how am I going to get more? Anyone else on the earth that is resonating with that same frequency as you are matching with them. You are tapping in with them. You are connecting with them. You are amplifying it. But if you are able to be present and merge with that energy, bringing love to it as you become and know that you are love, that your birthright for abundance is always there, that it is only an illusion made up of the mental structure of the mind that you have been taught that there is not enough. But when that is something in which you are able to be with in the uncomfortableness of that, and then become one with it, it becomes able to be healed within you. And when it is healed within you, it reverberates out energetically across the globe. It may not completely heal lack and poverty for the entire world, but it will make a rippling effect and a change in the collective, because it is a tapestry of interconnected light that you are all connected to. And that when large numbers of you do that, then it does make an enormous impact. And old paradigms begin to simply no longer pop up because they were collectively resolved. And that's why we talk so much about gathering this 144,000, because that number energetically within sacred geometry is so powerful. We're not saying that. A lot of times you'll hear in religion or biblical references of 144,000 that are risen into the sky, right? It's not literally that. The rising is the ascending, but the ascending is not a rapture coming down and taking you into the heavens. It is a raising of your frequency. It is moving closer to the I am that I am, to source itself, that is reverberating pure and unconditional love. And that when numbers of such consequence and such beauty in particular frameworks of math, in which we won't get into today, the dimensions and the creation of all the different things that come together in order to create certain patterns that implement and change the structure in the holographic field. But when you bring together that a number of people collectively focusing together in a unified way, holding love, the rippling effect is enormous. And so that is happening in pods of energies that are seeded beings that come from all different star systems that have arrived and have chosen to be here during this time, whether they're consciously aware of it or not, to dissolve certain energetic patterns, to raise the frequency so that you can cross this bridge together into a new world. So that instantaneously and spontaneously, without even a thought, you will open up and see that their new free energy has been developed. And in that moment, there will be a quickening across your globe and a great healing and a great equalizer and an ability for those to have water, to have food, for the polarity and the division and the diversity in the way that creates suffering to come into balance in a unified field. There will be technology that will come in, and it will be able to have the capacity in the split of a second in order to support the revitalizing of your planet, the replenishing of nourishment, the awakening again of the animals, the connecting to the minerals and the plants, the rebalancing of the forest, the cleaning of the oceans, the releasing of the healing of the atmosphere. All of those technologies, all of those energies, all of those possibilities are right there. They're already there in the quantum field, but they cannot be fully accessed yet and brought into your reality to have that quickening effect, to step into this new way of being, until there is a willingness to fully embrace, completely accept, and love who it is that you are, where it is that you are, without exception, in everything. And in that, you become one with yourself. And when you become one with yourself, just like the horse, you become one with everything and everyone. And in that, you become the commander of it, not from structure, but from love. And you begin to command with love. But you cannot command with the I am that I am and with love if and when you are separate from it, if and when you see it as separate from self, if and when you see what you are experiencing as something to get rid of because it is a part of you. So we know that was a lot and perhaps a little bit preachy today, which is not our MO. But we wanted to convey this to you because we feel this